Hello, today we've got Jeff Dow, the CEO, President, and Director of 60 Degrees Pharma. Jeff, great to have you back.
Greg, great to see you again, and thanks for the opportunity to speak today.
Jeff, start with an introduction. What is 60 Degrees Pharmaceuticals? And introduce us, please, to its lead drug, ARAKODA. We want to know, how did the company evolve from developing this FDA-approved malaria prevention drug to pursuing treatments for other infectious diseases, such as babesiosis?
So, Greg, we at 60 Degrees Pharma are focused on developing new products for infectious disease. We were very fortunate in 2018 to secure regulatory approval for ARAKODA for malaria prevention in the US. And since then, we've learned from the scientific literature, both patients and the non-clinical literature, that ARAKODA actually has some activity against babesiosis, which is a tick-borne disease transmitted by the same ticks that transmit Lyme disease. And so basically, one of the advantages of having an approved product, particularly if you think it works at the same dose against a new indication, is that it's much more cost-effective and less risky to generate the new data to seek regulatory approval for a new disease. And that's what we're attempting to do with babesiosis and ARAKODA in the coming years.
You know, congratulations, of course, on the medical insights that gave you a clue that ARAKODA could be useful against babesiosis. But of course, there has to be a commercial strategy as well. So what is that?
So our first commercial strategy is to get to profitability with the malaria prevention indication. And to do that, we've partnered with a commercial sales organization to do a pilot commercial project in the first half of next year, where we'll hire a couple of virtual sales representatives who will market the product to malaria prescribers. So we'll be growing the existing malaria prevention market. And then in parallel with that, we're going to do 3 small targeted babesiosis clinical trials, which will generate the data we need to go back to the FDA and seek approval for babesiosis as a new therapeutic area.
Now, what are you going to tell the FDA and what are you going to tell the world about ARAKODA and how it's better for treating malaria and babesiosis? What are some, say, clinical or maybe convenience advantages that position it?
So, of course, for malaria prevention, the market-leading product is a daily product. That means you have to remember to take the product every day while you're traveling. I personally and many other travelers find that quite inconvenient because I'm not very good at remembering a daily dose. ARAKODA is a weekly product, so it has that key advantage. And then the other thing that people worry about is relapsing malaria and drug resistance in some parts of the world. We don't have those problems with ARAKODA, which means it's kind of a one-stop shop for most travelers to most parts of the world.
Now, turning to the malaria prevention market, what are the specific tactics or partnerships that you are employing to drive growth and awareness?
So we know a lot about the malaria market already. We know that patients and physicians like the target product profile of ARAKODA, but brand awareness is low because we haven't done much commercialization of the product yet. So what we're going to do is partner with a large commercial sales organization to go out and share the message about the features and benefits of ARAKODA to existing malaria prescribers. And then assuming that commercial pilot program that we're going to do in the first half of next year is successful, then we'll scale up from there to reach a much larger market.
Investors, Jeff, always looking out for catalysts, milestones. What should they be looking out for when it comes to 60 Degrees?
So we think we're going to have some important news to announce regarding patient recruitment by the middle of next year. We will have made substantial progress on some of the smaller research projects which we've undertaken this year, and they'll kind of hit the bubble or the envelope in the second quarter of next year. And then, as you know from looking at our 10Qs, we've had pretty good sales growth and interesting commercial information to share with the market over the last few cycles. And we'll be doing similar kinds of reporting in the near future.
Jeff, going to go back to ask you one more question about ARAKODA because we know how important it is to 60 Degrees. What are some next steps in your clinical trials that you could tell us about and the impact that they could have?
Yeah, so the Yale study that came out this year is really important, and both from the company's perspective, but also for patients. If you're immunosuppressed and you get relapsing babesiosis, it's because the standard of care drugs failed. It puts you at risk of rehospitalization. And what that Yale study found is that when you add ARAKODA to existing standard of care, it cured 4 out of 5 patients. We think that should be in the ARAKODA label, but we've got to generate the data to prove it to the FDA's satisfaction. And so that's what we're focused on doing in the next 12 months.
Now, Jeff, you've got an FDA-approved drug, obviously, ARAKODA. It's FDA-approved for malaria. Talk to us about its possible uses, like right now, for babesiosis.
Yeah, so Greg, it's pretty interesting. So we know from the literature that because it's published, that physicians have already started using ARAKODA or Tafenoquine to treat relapsing babesiosis. And this is a disease in immunosuppressed patients, which is life-threatening. They've usually been through several courses of treatment first. And that published study by Yale showed that 80% of those patients who combine their standard of care medication with a regimen of Tafenoquine for several months, 80% of those patients were cured. We're doing a clinical program to try and prove that to FDA's requirements. And then when we're done with that research, we'll go to the agency and try and validate the literature with hard data that the FDA can buy off on.
All right, Jeff, please send us off with the essential value proposition. Tell our viewers, why should they take an interest in 60 Degrees Pharma right now?
Well, we're probably the smallest NASDAQ-listed company with an FDA-approved pharmaceutical product. The risk is low and the capital investment is low to go from where we are now to greater commercial sales, both for the approved indication and for new diseases in the future.
It's a great story, Jeff. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Thanks a lot, Greg. I'll see you next time.